commission for a term also. And I learned so much. So I started out by being a neighborhood complainer. I was a citizen who saw things going on and thought, that's not going to be good for my area. That's not going to be good for my neighborhood. And so I started communicating with the city. And we actually preserved our neighborhood from some changes that were going to really be adverse, and they would affect the quality of family life, which solid neighborhoods, those are family neighborhoods. To raise children safely and happily, you need secure neighborhoods. So we were working for all that, and we did achieve that. And from that work, I was asked by a member of the council to apply for the Planning Commission, and I did, and sat on the Planning Commission for 5 or 6 years, I don't remember. In that time, I worked on subcommittees to create some new ordinances. One of those was an ordinance to protect the tree canopy because of environmental issues. We also wanted to protect water resources. So we had an aquifer protection or wellhead protection, and that was for public wells, so that certain kinds of activity, commercial or industrial, that use certain deadly chemicals could not be located near the wellheads. And that was, of course, to make sure that we didn't get contamination. And there was an archaeological preservation, because archaeology is a hobby of mine, although I haven't had time for that for many years. But I am actually a trained archaeologist in that I can be in the field on digs, and I have the credentials and certificate for that, but I do have to work under a PhD. I went to Clark College. So I was in banking for 13 years. Okay. I was very successful. I loved banking. I did a really good job there, and I received regular promotions from that too. And they took 30 women out of the whole organization of a couple thousand people and sent us to accelerated management training, which was a customized program at Portland State University. And it was specifically for banking. And I was really proud to be selected for that. And so I could see that I had an aptitude for that. And I was really interested in it. And I was pretty good at it too. So, but as time went on and the organization was being consolidated, and there were some buyouts and so on and so forth, the organization was changing. And what I realized is, without a full college degree, my future would be limited. So I could go anywhere in banking, but what if I wanted to do something else? And frankly, my dream was always to be an attorney. So I knew that I needed formalized education. And at the same time I'm coming to those conclusions, my husband and I were waiting for a family, and that had not happened for a long time. And the prospect of that ever happening wasn't good, apparently. So I went back to work for a former boss and did some executive level consulting, which I really enjoyed. And then suddenly didn't feel very well and had the most wonderful surprise of expecting a baby. And so I worked through to 9 months and then stayed home. My husband worked for a national corporation, and we were making it on one salary. That's what we did. And I was invited to go back to banking. I had a really good job offer, but I realized that the baby was a treasure. And needed to grow up to be civilized and a good human being, which he has. But that doesn't happen in a vacuum. And it doesn't necessarily happen, especially in the daycare of 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I stayed home, and that's when a neighbor of mine got me involved in neighborhood associations. She called me up and she said, I want you to be the executive director of the Neighbor to Neighbor program. And it wasn't Carter Park neighborhood at the time, it was the 29th Street Association. So I said, I don't have time for that. I have a baby. And she, who had 4 children, and said to me, well, he takes a nap, doesn't he? And so she brought me over a notebook, and it was at the beginning of a big recession in this country. And we knew that there were a lot of people that needed help even in our own neighborhood. The food banks were getting drawn down. People needed all kinds of help. So we did a neighbor to neighbor program. And I hear about them now. I mean, this was totally grassroots. So I was the executive director. I thought that was such a fanciful name for somebody that would go help elderly people clean their home mm-hmm. because they didn't qualify for some kind of federal aid that would have helped them get home, somebody to come into mm-hmm. their mothers in the neighborhood. I remember there was a mother, she had like 4 children in the elementary school, and she'd broken her leg. And so we made sure that at least every other day a meal got over there in the afternoon. Elderly people, especially once they became single due to the loss of their mate, would have a hard time either being motivated to do yard work, or things would accumulate and it would be too overwhelming. Well, we'd scout around and find somebody to go mow their lawn.